Hello everyone, this is Daryl. How you doing today? It's a beautiful sunny day here in mid-January in Michigan. The weather's 42 degrees, warmest it's been in a while. Especially with the sunshine out, it's just beautiful. And it's a good thing because earlier this week, the navigator developed a problem on the rear brakes. The disc brake pads on the rear are wore out, and I'm getting a little bit of metal on metal grinding noise. So today, we're going to change the rear brake pads on this. The front ones still seem fine, and it's winter time, so we're just going to do the rear brake pads. We're not going to do the rotors or anything else. We're just going to change the pads, a quick maintenance swap out here, and I'm going to show you how from start to finish, and we'll talk about how much time it takes. It's 10 minutes to 2 right now, and you know, I have to stop and film and everything, so that'll add a little bit to the time. We've got the Tinsel the Christmas cat out here ready and willing to help with whatever he might be able to help us with. Keep an eye on things, right, Tinsel? Anyway, so we're going to show you step by step everything you need to do. I already purchased the replacement brake pads at AutoZone. They were like $37, and I looked online just to check on eBay. They range anywhere from $18 up to $150 just for the rear pads. You know, the ones I got at AutoZone were their lower end ones. They were $37, and they have a lifetime warranty. So next time they go bad, I just take them back there and get free ones. And that's, you know, it's not the cheapest place to get things, but it is kind of convenient. All right, we might as well show them to you here before we get started. These are the Duralast standard brake pads. You can see the number on them is MKD 1279, and 1279 seems to be the common part number you see all over eBay for these things, no matter who makes them. So that must be like a standard part number for this particular vehicle. And these are going to be the same for 27 through at least 2012 Lincoln Navigators and Ford Expeditions. So if you have an Expedition or Navigator 07 through 012, these brake pads and this procedure is going to apply to you. And of course, the first things you always want to do before you lift up the car is to put some blocks or wheel chocks or something in front of the opposite wheels so that the car doesn't roll away on you. And you know, I'm going to be jacking up this, start with the back left side here, and you know, it doesn't hurt to actually chock the front and rear of one of the front wheels, because that way the car can't roll backwards or forwards. You never know which way a car could roll. It could just as easily roll backwards as it could forwards, depending on how you have the jack set up and what kind of angle you're on. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to do a little setup. I'm going to get the car, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off the hubcap. Then I'm going to give each of the lug nuts a little bit of a loosening while the car is on the ground. Break them loose. That way you won't have to fight with trying to hold the wheel still while you actually do the final removal of the wheel and the lug nuts. So I'm going to get a little bit of setup work down here, then I'll be right back. Alright, I'm using my own jack. I've set the floor jack up right underneath the rear suspension point where the shock attaches to. You can see under there where I've got it set up. And we're only going to be raising the car up by an inch or two. They say you should also disable the air suspension when you're doing this, but I don't think it's going to make any difference right now because the car's been sitting for a few days and the air suspension is already drained down. We're just going to leave it like this. We're not going to energize ignition or anything. We'll see how that goes. We're going to use our factory supplied tire tool, our lug wrench so to speak, with the curved tip to pop off the center hubcap and loosen the wheel nuts. Now you see the hubcap is off. I loosened the lug nuts a little bit. Jacked the car up the rest of the way so the wheel's up off the ground. And now the lug nuts actually feel like they're finger tight, so we're just going to go ahead and take those off. Alright, the lug nuts are off. We're going to just grab the wheel and pop it off. Hopefully it'll pop right off. Sometimes they get stuck to the hub after being mounted on there for so long, especially since there's different kinds of metal involved. And then they might require a strong kick or a little bit of pry bar effort to get them off. We're going to see if this one comes right off or not. Oh, and that one is stuck on there. What I like to do is turn around backwards so my back's up against the car, and then firmly kick the side of the sidewall of the tire backwards. I seem to get a lot of leverage that way, so we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to turn off my back to the car. I don't know if I can film it or not. Here we go. My back's to the car. I'm going to take my foot, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to kick backwards into the tire. There we go. A couple of good strong kicks and it's popped right off. That'll also give me a chance to visibly inspect this tire and wheel assembly for any damage to cords or bulging in the tire or the sidewall. I did have a recent trip to Ohio. I had 2 tires blow out on the sidewall on a recent trip to Ohio, so we're going to give these tires here a good look. I've replaced the 2 with new ones. I'm going to need to replace, I'm going to go ahead and replace these other ones here within the next couple weeks, so I have all 4 new ones. But at almost $200 per tire, you know, it's just not something I can jump off and always buy 4 of them all at once. Alright, well, I hate doing this without a cameraman because I had to get underneath and see how to get the tool into place to get them off. And while I was under there, I went ahead and loosened them up and took out the mounting bolts, but we're going to show you. On the back side on the top, right here, there's a plastic cap that you pop out. Just pops right out with your fingertip or screwdriver. Set that aside. It's a dust cap. You'll need it later. And then here's where you'll need the only real special tool involved in this, and that is this ratchet hex wrench. This is a 3/8 inch drive hex wrench attachment socket. I guess we'll call it a hex socket. And this one's an odd size. It's a 7mm. And a lot of the Ford Motor Company brake products use this. It's not a common size hex wrench. So go do yourself a favor, buy yourself one of these. This is what you're going to need to do the brakes on your Ford product vehicles, a lot of them. And here's the slide pins, or the bolts, caliper mounting bolts. See, it's threaded on one end, and the body of it is a slippery shaft, which allows the caliper to slide in and out as the brakes are applied and released and as the pads wear down. So we're going to want to clean these up a little bit, make sure there's no dirt or corrosion on them, and then give them a light coating of brake grease. I don't know if you can see close enough here, but the ends are all kind of rounded out on the very outer end. I'm thinking the last person who did the brakes on this vehicle probably didn't have the correct size hex wrench to take these out with, and tried to use something else, rounded them out a little bit. But by tapping the hex wrench deeper into the hole, it goes in quite a ways, we were able to catch some good material in there, and they came right out without any problems. So we're going to set these aside and clean these up. Now we're going to take a large screwdriver or pry bar, and we're going to work the caliper off. This is the caliper here, and this is the caliper mounting plate here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top, or in one of these holes here, and we're just going to work it back and forth until we get it to pop all the way off. And we're not going to let it fall or dangle. We're going to support it with our other hand while we're doing that. So I'm going to set the phone down, because if you let it fall or drop, you're going to be putting stress on the hydraulic brake rows here, which could cause that hose to break, snap, or get damaged, and that would cause you a whole bunch of extra work to replace that you don't need to do. Alright, this one here pulls up from the bottom side. So I got my screwdriver under the bottom, I pried upward, and it swings right out. So we're going to grab it now, see if you can watch. We're going to continue to pull up and away, and then we're going to set this right up here on top so it doesn't fall and get damaged. Now we have the caliper and brake pads have been removed. The rotor, which is this flat disc, is still here, and the brake mounting, caliper mounting plate is here. Now most of the brake jobs I've ever done have had stainless steel hardware, like little slides mounted on this ridge right here where the pads slide back and forth. And this one doesn't seem to have a hardware kit. See, the caliper piston has extended quite a ways out. That means that our caliper is getting a little thin on the thin side, and we can see a little bit of smearing on it here from the bad brake pad. We got down to the rivets on the brake pad, and the steel rivets are making a little bit of a mark on the rotor here. And you know, I can feel a little bit of grooving in the front side and a little bit of wear. Honestly, these rotors probably should be replaced, but like I say, it's winter time and I've had to buy 2 new tires, so we're going to do a maintenance special here and just put the pads on for right now. But let's snap these disc brake pads out here so you can see what's going on with those. We start with the front one and just grab it and squeeze it until it pops out. Pull on it backwards and up. That should pop out. Again, it's hard. There we go. It's got little anti-rattle clips on it to keep it from rattling while it's in place. And we're going to flip it over, and you can see how shiny it is there. That's where the pad material has, came off of it, and is rubbing on directly on the rotor. The backside one has a little bit of brake material left on it, not a lot. And you can see the angle here on the top of the pad material. That also tells you that your rotor's not perfectly straight and it's got a lot of wear to it. That's why we should replace the rotor too in this situation. Alright, now the next step on our quick repair job here is going to be to compress the piston. The piston comes out as the brakes wear down, so in order to fit the new brakes into place, we need to squeeze this piston back into place. On passenger cars with the rear wheel disc brakes, a lot of times there's a screw-in mechanism. You have to actually screw the, here's part of the brake hardware kit that someone mangled and left inside of the rotor. That's very pleasant, isn't it? Alright, this one here is a squeeze-in one now. You can tell because on the turn-in ones they would be all flat across the surface, and they'd have like little indentations in them for a tool to attach to screw it in. But this one here, we're just going to get either a big C-clamp or a large pair of channel lock pliers or a brake retractor kit, and we're going to clamp it and squeeze that piston back in. A lot of times you can do it by hand with a what do I call it? With a pair of channel lock pliers. You also see on this one here, I told you this is the rubber boot where the cover plate cap goes over the top of the slide pin. I believe there should be another rubber boot with a cap on this lower bolt hole too. I don't think that should be exposed to the elements. I think there should be a slide pin in that as well, and a cap and a rubber bushing. And someone has put this together without that piece in place too, which would also tend to lead to the brake pads not applying evenly and wearing that caliper rotor out unevenly as well. So, you know, in the springtime when I redo this job, we're going to replace this bushing here as well. Well, I couldn't find my C-clamp, so I dug out my brake caliper service tool set, and we're using the actual tool here to compress the piston with, and it's going in super easy, no sticking or hanging up or anything, so that makes me feel fairly confident that the caliper's in good shape. Alright, the new brake pads have anti-rattle clips built into the back of them to hold them securely in place, and this one with the hump on it goes on the inboard side, which is where the piston is, and those 3 tabs are going to press into the center hole of the piston. Sometimes it helps put a little grease on them to get them to go. And the outboard one, the little clips are just going to slide over these arms here. Alright, we'll look closer. You can see that this brake pad here is pressed firmly against the piston, and this one here is held in place by these little tabs here on the side, and this little tab down here fits into a groove so they don't come loose or rattle. And now we're going to flip this back around and swing it into place over the bracket and rotor assembly by tipping the top side in first and going downward with it. There we go. It slid right into place very easily. You can see here. You'll probably have to wiggle it a little bit up and down, left and right, to line the slide pin caliper retaining bolts up properly. Now we're going to clean up those pin bolts a little bit. There they are. I usually just take a steel wire brush right here, a little handheld one, or sometime I'll get my drill motor out, my cordless drill, and I'll hook one of these up to it and use this on it. Either one will be fine. And when you get done and get it clean, get all the crud off it, apply a light coating of brake grease to it. And I don't have any brake grease here. I'll probably use a little standard grease on it, but you really should use brake grease if you have it. And there you go. You start the 2 bolts in the hole. You secure them nice and tight, really tight with this wrench. Return the dust cap into position, like that. And you're ready to reinstall the tire and wheel assembly. Make sure you torque down the lug nuts to the proper torque. Drive the car about 50 miles and recheck the torque on them, and you'll be good to go. If you account for all the time I took off to film and rummage around looking for things, really this project should take about a half hour per side. Maybe a little bit more your first time, but I think if I was all set up, had all my tools lined up, I could do it in a half hour per side without too much trouble. Hey, and I was right. 22 minutes start to finish from the time we put it up on the jack to the time we let it down on the jack for the other side. Not too shabby, hey? Not too shabby at all. And you can do it yourself, save a ton of money. And we'll be doing it again, like I said, in the springtime, because we need to install the hardware kit. Our store or auto parts store didn't have the hardware kit in stock, and I needed to get this done today, so it's back the way it was. You've done it yourself, you saved a ton of money. Thanks for watching, have a great day.